Coming up on your news at 5, the Tribal Corporation in Nome is working to reduce their reliance on fossil fuels, how they plan to do it. Then more tariffs are coming. What is being targeted? And the Alaska Board of Game approved state officials' request to continue a predator control program. We have reaction.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
Welcome to your news at 5. We begin this evening with a fatal accident. Shortly after 9 p.m. on Friday, Anchorage police responded to Glen Highway near Boniface Parkway after reports of a vehicle versus pedestrian collision. According to the department, the victim has been identified as 54-year-old Eric Black. He was transported to the hospital where he died of his injuries. The next of kin have been notified of the death.
People argued about what has happened to the Mulchatna caribou herd, and that's fine. That's great. Yeah, I mean, we're not sure everything that's going on out there, but the bottom line is the overall abundance of the herd increased, and more importantly, the number of calves increased.
The Alaska Board of Game has approved state officials' request to continue a controversial predator control program in western Alaska. This comes after a Superior Court decision in early March that the program permitting the killing of bears and wolves violates due process when put into law. Shortly after the court decision, the Alaska Department of Fish and Game filed a petition for emergency actions to carry out a third season of shooting bears and wolves to boost the Mulchatna caribou herd. And according to Fish and Game, they've killed 175 brown bears, 5 black bears, and 19 wolves in the past 2 years of the program. Officials say the emergency order is intended to revitalize a herd that has fallen below sustainable hunting numbers, which impacts Alaskans relying on subsistence to feed their families. However, the Alaska Wildlife Alliance, who filed and won the first lawsuit declaring the predator control program was unconstitutional, says they're stunned an emergency petition was able to pass in this scenario, and they don't believe it's a true emergency.
I think the ruling was exceptionally clear, and it's really telling as a member of the public and someone who's engaged in this process that the state's response was not to have some kind of reconciliation or meaningful discussion about those very valid concerns. Instead, the response was to subvert that court order and continue to subvert the public process, hiding behind a pretty thinly veiled excuse of an emergency petition.
You know, I totally understand. I understand where people are coming from. But this is a process. It was a process to go through the legal system and the court system. And we have the opportunity to go through the Board of Game and to get these up and running. And we really don't want to lose that third year.
The emergency reinstatement of the program only permits 120 days of predator control, after which there will be an evaluation. And a tribal corporation in Nome is working to reduce reliance on fossil fuels by installing solar panels in the region. The village of Solomon previously installed a solar array of 21 panels and hopes to install 9 similar arrays in the next several years, an approximate total of about 200 panels. The project is in part funded by grants from the EPA, which were frozen for about a month, a cause for concern among those in the village. Now they say they have regained access to the funds and are moving forward with the project, hoping to offset high fuel costs for families in the region, many of which rely on diesel and wood to heat their homes. That monthly cost can near $1,000 a month for some families.
It's creating a lot of, I would say, yes, security, and then the resiliency. And then it's helping the households because it's already such a high cost. And I think that it's reassuring households that that they are going to live a little bit more of a quality lifestyle, not having to spend $800 a month on heating fuel.
Tribal representatives traveled to D.C. last week to meet with Alaska's congressional delegation, as well as members of the EPA and the Department of Energy to discuss this project, among others. Johnson said she is still concerned about the status of the funding and hopes to better communicate with the federal government the energy needs of their village and others in the region. And major tariffs start this week, plus special elections and hot-button Supreme Court cases. Ryan Henson has your week ahead in Washington.
President Donald Trump is set to follow through on his promise for more tariffs, this time on foreign-made cars. A 25% import tax on imported vehicles starts Wednesday. Trump says the move will lead to more domestic manufacturing. However, it will also likely lead to higher prices. The Associated Press reports imported vehicle prices could rise by $12,000. Tuesday, Florida holds 2 special elections to replace 2 former Republican congressmen. Trump won both districts by more than 30 points, but Tuesday's races could be close, leaving House Republicans concerned over their slim majority. And the U.S. Supreme Court hears arguments for 2 major cases this week. Monday, the court hears Wisconsin v. Catholic Charities. The organization claims it deserves a tax exemption other religious organizations get, despite not meeting the state standard for religious activity. On Wednesday, the justices hear arguments on whether South Carolina can bar patients on Medicaid from receiving care at Planned Parenthood. Decisions for both cases are expected in June. In Washington, I'm Ryan Henson.
Now let's head over to the Weather Center for a first look at the forecast with Christina Campbell.
And it looks like we are going to be ending the month of March on a nice note, at least in the southern half of the state. Still pretty active in the interior and over the north. From Bird Point, looking south, 40 degrees, winds west-northwest at 5 miles per hour. And you can see we still have some clouds out there. They're moving in from the west. And western Alaska and the interior are seeing the brunt of it. Right now, we do have winter weather advisories for the North Slope, the Seward Peninsula, Northwest Arctic coast, and for the interior, parts of the interior. We're looking at freezing drizzle for most of the western coast, some snow, blowing snow up toward the north, and some snow for the interior and gusty winds. Right now, the ice storm warning for the Seward Peninsula. This includes Nome, White Mountain, Gullivan, ice and freezing drizzle up to about a 500-inch accumulation expected of glaze. Otherwise, sunshine looking nice. Mild temperatures into the 40s for the south central region. Interior slightly below average with temperatures into the 20s, but still sunshine for now. Snow is on the way. Prepare for tonight and tomorrow to start the work week with a little bit of snow from Fairbanks all the way down to Denali. This includes Fort Wainwright. We do have some active weather there. Otherwise, nice for Juneau and Anchorage. Again, snow in Fairbanks could be heavy in spots. I'll have more details coming up in the full weather forecast.
Thank you so much, Christina. We'll see you soon. And still to come on the news at 5, federal layoffs coming to the Department of Veteran Affairs. We hear from both sides about the future of care for our nation's armed forces.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
Mass layoffs are coming for the Department of Veterans Affairs. The VA secretary has said the department is looking at laying off about 80,000 employees to increase efficiency. Lee Wallman spoke to some VA employees who are worried these cuts will impact their ability to serve veterans.
The veterans just aren't going to get taken care of the way they should be.
Fears are mounting for Veterans Affairs employees and their union representation, American Federation of Government Employees, over sweeping layoffs planned for the department. Veteran Affairs Secretary Doug Collins says the VA is aiming to cut its staff by some 80,000, about 17% of its workforce.
Money and people are not the issue. So what we're looking at here is, are we spending, the money properly, and are we having the right amount of employees, or do we have just too much bureaucracy?
According to an internal memo obtained by CNN earlier this month, reduction in force and reorganization plans will be submitted by April 13th and revealed in June when cuts will begin. Jonathan Geller, the vice president of an AFGE branch in New York, worries about the impact on veterans they help.
This is going to affect all patient care. As a whole. I mean, from the call centers, from eligibility to benefits, to the crisis line, to member services lines.
Erica Alexander is a crisis responder on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. She believes layoffs will leave veterans without critical safety nets and mental health support.
I think it's going to be hard to make sure that no calls go unanswered.
They gave so much for their country, but Geller worries the country won't be able to give back to them.
This was a promise. We promised these men and women to care for them.
In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
When we come back, the death toll following a massive earthquake in Myanmar and Thailand continues to rise. We have the latest details.
And we're looking at a sunset tonight in Anchorage at 8:41. The earliest sunset in Juneau at 7:35. All told, most areas will be seeing over 13 hours of daylight. We have a lot of sunshine in it for southern Alaska, snow for the interior. I'll tell you about it after the break.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.